Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me today. It's Allan Laboucan from the Rocks and Stocks News website. We've got another of our interviews with executives from junior mining companies. Today we have TRU Precious Metals, which is one of my website sponsors, and they've been moving ahead quite rapidly with the projects in Newfoundland. And not only with the drilling, but they've done a lot of surface sampling. And today they announced some geophysical results that I've got Barry Green joining us to discuss. And I think I want to try to make the case that this is a very underloved, undervalued junior that those excited about Newfoundland should be looking at. Barry, thank you very much for joining me today.
Well, thank you for having me, Allan. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, as I sort of alluded to in the intro there, Barry, and before we started chatting, I'm quite impressed with how things have moved along quite rapidly. I mean, you're only about a one-year-old company, and you've got a very big package of land, and you guys have been working very aggressively to do some serious work. So why don't we talk about this IP in context of that overall work you've been doing, Barry?
Absolutely, absolutely.
So,
yeah.
by the way, I've got the news release up, so I can we can point to anything. If you want to do a share screen, I'll make that available.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. So yeah, so let me share this map.
There's a couple of good anomalies on the map.
So okay,
there we go.
Yeah, so that's the map. That was in the press release we put out this morning. So we're now getting well, we've been getting preliminary results back. We're now up to line 43, which is right here. So we've sampled all the way up through here, and we're up to 43, and we've got these lines to finish. And so, so we decided it's time now to put out some news release, because we've gone over, we've done the IP over the known bedrock showings at Jacob's Pond here and here and here. And
so those, Barry, those three black lines, those are the IP lines you announced in today's news release.
Correct. So I'll show that one in a minute, but those three lines are where we've actually shown cross sections, where we've shown basically inverted IP data in the third dimension down into the ground. And so what we're seeing is, we're seeing direct correlation between the bedrock gold occurrences here and here, and IP responses in the ground. And so that really gives us a lot of hope, because we started off. We had this,
Barry, just for the audience, those contours, those various different colors represent the surface sampling results. Am I getting that right?
That's correct. That's right. Yeah. So I was just going to explain that yeah, we started off doing soil sampling here, and these color contours you see, which are on this map here, they're copper in soil. So we've defined a copper soil anomaly over, like, in fact, it even goes off the map down here and that way a little bit, but it's it's about 1.5 kilometers or so long, at least what we're seeing here.
Well, that's pretty widespread distribution of gold, silver, and copper mineralization with some extremely high grade kicks.
Yeah. And the red dots are the gold anomalies in soils as well. So you see the correlation between the gold anomalies and the copper anomalies, and that's exactly what we're seeing in the bedrock. And the float samples around in this area associated with these anomalies are bedrock occurrences with gold and copper and silver. Although we haven't shown all the elements, there's silver and there's even some zinc around here and some lead. So it's truly polymetallic, but we're really excited to see the IP responses on these known showing, because you see small occurrences on surface, and this area hasn't been trenched or drilled or really opened up in any way. So we're not really seeing the full extent, even at surface, of what we have. So of course the IP then would give us a better
And Barry,
idea of what it looks like at depth.
Barry, what kind of line spacing on your sampling? I mean, sometimes people can do selective sampling and get these high grade kicks, just so that people can get an idea of the quality of the sampling you did.
The soil sampling was done at 100-meter lines, and then this IP is also, these yellow lines are separated by 100 meters here. Up here we've found out the spacing, but you know, up here even there's a 20 grammer in bedrock, in just like a little hand trench that was dug by a shovel. So nothing's been opened up here. So yeah, so you know, it's a 25-meter station by 100-meter line spacing. It's what we did our sampling on.
Approximately how many samples would you have taken in that grid you're showing there, Barry?
Just
ballpark it.
Probably 600 or so.
Okay, so that's a systematic surface sampling. That's not like going out grab sampling and seeing something that's shiny and putting that in the bag. You guys went and did a very thorough job.
Yeah. Actually, it might even be closer to 1,000 here. But yeah, no, we were very systematic. You know, we had goal showings that we knew were here. So let's we said let's go do some soils, see if we can pick up that this system is actually bigger than what we're seeing in bedrock, and you know, if it correlates with the soils with the bedrock occurrences and the float samples, it gives you two layers of information that would then say, okay, we've got two things in the same location that kind of back each other up. So then the next step is to say, okay, let's see if it has any geophysical response. So then when we shot the IP over it, you know, the IP responses were kind of directly underneath the bedrock.
Why don't we show those cross sections, because they stand out like a sore thumb?
Yeah, I'll show you that right now. Let me bring this one down and bring another one up. Okay, just one second here.
So this was sort of the representation of what's been done at the surface and giving you that surface overview. Now we're going to look at the cross section, which gives you a third dimension that starts to really tie things together quite impressively relative to those sample locations, the kicks, and the anomalies that you got, Barry. Yes,
precisely. Okay, new share. Let me see. So these are the cross sections over those three black lines that I showed you on the grid.
Yeah.
So as I said, the lines are spaced 100 meters apart, and so this is line 30. So line 39 would be 900 meters away. And so what we're seeing is here, we're seeing, okay, this is a high grade sample that we collected. This was a float sample, but it looked like it was fairly localized. And when we shot our IP line, this is looking in cross section down through the earth. We're running along here. Then all of a sudden we get this big IP kick, and this sample is sitting right on top of it.
Wow.
So it goes into the earth, and these ticks you see over here, although it's not clear on this image because of the resolution here, but they're 50 meter ticks, and these are 50 meters as well between these numbers. So just to give you an idea of kind of scale, so that anomaly would be more than 100 meters in thick, in width.
At the top of it.
Yeah, exactly. Even up here, it's quite wide. Then it gets
and then it widens out as it goes to depth.
It flares out. Yeah. And same thing with all these other ones. Like this is a bedrock gold copper occurrence.
Oh, Barry, I think we should tell the audience, in IP, what are you picking up in these geophysics, and how does that play into what you've seen in the rock sampling, the surface work you've done?
Yeah, so there's two components to IP. There's chargeability and resistivity, and what they do is they put energy, they put a charge into the ground, and they see if there's anything in the ground that will hold a charge. So, in some cases, like sulfide minerals like copper or pyrite, which is, sometimes can have gold, sometimes it won't. Those type of metals in general are chargeable, but obviously also there are other non-economic things that can be chargeable, like such as graphite or even things like hematite. So when you do an IP and you get a chargeability anomaly, which is what you want to see, it's not always an economic mineral. So that's why you need to have other screens to say, do I have other things to say, kind of to rule out other
Because in that top part there, you're showing some pyrite, right? That's your sulfide there?
So this is chalcopyrite and pyrite in that sample there, and that's a float sample, directly above this IP, because this is a kind of a broad IP anomaly which has a stronger part over here and here. This is also a sample with similar to that with almost 4 grams of gold and 5.6% copper, but that's in bedrock, but it sits right on top of this where this IP comes to surface. So it looks like it's directly being detected by the IP, and the anomaly looks like it continues.
So I guess a good follow-up question, Barry, would be, are you seeing any of those other minerals that would be picked up by IP in your sampling, or is this the most likely source of what's causing that IP chargeability anomaly?
That's always the $1 million question whenever you do these things. And I've done a lot of this work over the years, and I've been disappointed many times. In fact, I've become cynical. It may not sound like it right now, but I have become cynical over the years, just because I've seen so much, where so many times when I've been disappointed. But
you and me both, but it's sort of a process of elimination, right, Barry? So you've got sulfides at the surface. Now you've got a big chargeability anomaly. So my question would be, well, are you seeing anything else that could give you, in your surface sampling, are you seeing anything else that could give you an anomaly that could be a possible explanation? And it doesn't sound like it.
Well, there is some hematite kicking around in some of the volcanic rocks.
Yep.
So but when you've got a sulfide source sitting directly on top of where your IP anomaly comes to surface, there's no hematite in this particular area, but on the property, or in the general kind of vicinity, yes, there will be hematite. So I'm not going to say that every anomaly is going to be.
But is there enough hematite to give you that? That's a pretty booming anomaly.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm thinking this is directly being picked up. This anomaly is directly associated with this bedrock occurrence. That's what we're hearing from the company that did this IP survey, Simco Geosciences. They've done these surveys all over the world on duds and on some mines, and they know what data looks like when it's a good area, when it's a bad area, and they're quite excited by what they're seeing here. They believe it's the real deal. So obviously the drill will determine at the end of the day what we have, how much we have, but yeah, my expectation here is that it looks like it's being caused by the sulfides.
Well, and that's a pretty exciting hits you've had at the surface. 24 grams of silver, 7% copper, 3.9 gold, 5.6% copper. You get some nice sulfide hits there. So let's keep our fingers crossed, Barry, but that's sort of why you do this work, right?
Exactly. And right here, this is the original Jacob's pond showing. And you can see if I zoom in a little bit, you can see where this spike in the IP comes right to surface. That's a 3-meter wide quartz breccia vein, which looks something like this in surface. So when you're seeing this type of material with sulfides and quartz and carbonate, it's sitting right there directly above the IP. There's no hematite anywhere in this area to explain that, other than what I see is a mineral occurrence. It's 3-meter wide right there, and it's only been hand trenched and it's very poorly exposed. So we don't know how wide it is, but kind of directly below it is this big IP anomaly. And it looks like it comes to surface up here, and that's the area, in that area as well, where that comes to surface, is where on my previous map, there's lots. If I just pause sharing for a second and go back to the other map,
Don't forget to go back to this one, Barry, because I really want to get into that bottom cross section. I see a couple things there I want to ask you about.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, can you see the other map again here?
No, we're still on the cross sections of the IP.
Oh, I see. Okay. Let me just minimize that one.
No worries.
And
that's some nice looking rocks sitting above those anomalies, Barry.
Yeah.
Gotta have you pretty excited. Oh, there we go.
We're quite excited about this. So this is the other map here, and so where that anomaly. So this is the Jacob. That black line there is the one I was just discussing.
Right.
This is the Jacob's Pond bedrock occurrence here, and where that IP anomaly comes to surface is right up in this area.
Oh wow!
And so you can see there's there's copper, silver, and some gold.
So that's about, if you went from the Jacob's Pond showing to that anomaly, well, how many meters is that to the north?
Well, this is 500 meters right here, so it's probably on the order of 400 meters or so.
Wow.
Yeah, and it continues at depth in that, in this direction. Is dipping to the southeast, is what it looks like, is based on what the IP geophysicist is telling me.
Okay.
So
and so then 39, that's 200 meters step out, that next line?
Yeah, that's so, this line looks equally as impressive, but we can only show so much in the press release.
Yeah.
But we picked this line because there's a gold mineral occurrence here, gold copper in bedrock. And so let's show what that looks like in cross section. And that was the other cross section, which I'll come back to. But in this line in between, there's still the same type of IP response, and this line and so on. Like, it's a fairly consistent IP anomaly, goes over quite a distance. So
if we had to look at the IP anomalies in 3 dimensions, it looks like they're dipping towards the southeast. Am I getting that right?
Correct.
Okay. So they're all starting close to surface, near where you've got these kicks in the surface sampling, and then they're dipping down towards the southeast.
Right.
And and on a strike length, there's quite a number of these where they come close to surface.
Yes. So like down in this area, we're seeing a cluster of very high grade gold and copper. Like that sample is 1.3 grams of gold, 16.7 copper. But there's
look at those copper numbers, man.
Very high copper, and there's a big IP response on that one as well, right over that area. If I actually minimize that and go back to the cross section again, so that's the type of material that we're finding in those. And this is bornite, or a mixture probably of bornite, maybe some chalcocite, I'm not sure, but That's where the sample came from. That's 900 meters from the original bedrock showings.
So, wow. Wow.
Directly
And
underneath it is a big
so
chargeability.
I don't want to wave my arms too much, but it sounds like there's a possibility that this could all be associated into some kind of intrusion. Is that correct, Barry? Or
Just to the west of where we're doing the survey, there's a large a fairly large intrusion, multiple kilometers long, like maybe, I'm not sure, 5-10 kilometers or so. I can't remember exactly, but it's something in that order of magnitude, where it's known as the Rainy Lake Complex, and it's a Silurian intrusion. This is right along what we're interpreting as the Cape Ray shear zone. It's between the Cape Ray and the Valentine Lake shear zones. It's closer to the margin of the Cape Ray shear zone, which is a deep crustal scale structure. And this intrusion is interpreted to have been synkinematic, meaning it was squirting in as the deformation was occurring.
okay.
And it also got deformed and internally kind of brecciated and faulted. And this is like where the tail end of this intrusion sort of almost looks like a series of dikes, but it's a series of, it's basically the tail end where it kind of becomes more stringy and not bulbous of that intrusion. That's where
Right.
we're yeah. So I don't, at this point, I don't know exactly what the model might be. Like this sample up here reminds me of a VMS type setting.
That's what I was thinking as well. That reminds me of some rock samples I had. I used to have on my desk from Neves Corvo.
Right. Yes. And in Portugal, or over in that area.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's also Buckens is probably, I don't know, 60, 70 kilometers away, which was an old historic, very high grade NSR mine, operated for 57 years. But this is also near the contact with what's known as the Antiope-Scotch ophiolite complex. So it looks like when we look at these sections,
Barry, before we, to the non-geos out there, when Barry's describing this, he's talking about these deep structures or cracks in the earth where the fluids that carry minerals can make their way up. So I just wanted to kind of dumb it down for myself, Barry.
yeah. Sorry, I get wrapped up sometimes in
Yeah.
geology.
Well, I know there's all kinds of big names for these things, but basically that's what you're looking for, is cracks in the earth that can bring these fluids from deep down. And that's where you get these sulfide occurrences. And that's what we were trying to pick up here.
Correct. So we're seeing quartz carbonate vein material with copper in it, with some lead in it, some zinc, minerals. So it's polymetallic. We're also seeing this type of material, which seems to be more massive sulfide and high, with a very high copper content. And we're seeing this, which looks to me like a large quartz vein that's been, it's been replaced by secondary copper minerals and partially eaten away and replaced by these kind of infill and replacement type textures in this by these copper, obviously gold, silver, high copper, gold, silver minerals. So there's multiple. It's probably a hybrid of something. I don't really know what the model is at this point yet. I don't know if it's kind of true orogenic gold, or if it's it's a combination of different kind of.
Could be a VMS as well.
It could be a VMS kind of with an orogenic gold overprint. Given the ophiolites nearby, which often have copper associated with them, wouldn't be surprising to see a VMS in this environment. The Buckens group rocks and the Victoria Lake group rocks, which are known to host the VMS deposits, they come down through this area of our property as well. And there's a lot going on structurally. So obviously it's going to take some drilling and then some more studies to see what we have here. and try and put a name on it.
Based on, it's still too early to kind of hypothesize about what kind of geological body you have here, but based on what you know to date, you know that you've got these surface samplings with high-grade kicks. Now you've been able to put together the IP, the geophysics is suggesting that these are associated. Next up is to drill them, and that will help you put together a model.
Drill and trench. We'd like to open some of these up on surface as well, see what they look like a little more. Because like I said, at this point, this is very early stage grassroots. All has been done here is some, maybe somebody going in, a prospector, Sean Rose, who actually initially kind of brought this to light, found some of these prospects. He went in with a shovel and did a little hand trench about a foot wide, or 30 centimeters wide, and that's really the extent. Nobody's ever went in with a trench, like with an excavator to open it up properly. See, like for instance, that sample is just a small sampling of what he sampled there. Once this is opened up, there might be this type of material right next to that. Like, we don't know, right? It's just,
You're just touching the surface, really. You don't know what brought all this up.
Yeah. All we know is we've got soil geochemistry, which tells us there's copper, zinc, gold, silver in the soils. We've got bedrock and float samples, which have much of the same material in it. And now we've got the geophysics that tells us, this appears to be all connected to what you're seeing in the surface sampling. And it goes at depth, and it has some scale to it. It appears to have some scale, based on this data. I'm not a geophysicist, but obviously I'm not insinuating that this entire thing is going to be, it could be portions of this. It might be the lower contact or maybe the upper and lower contact that's important. We won't know until we open it up more.
Well, and then if you take a step back a little bit, and you've got the big regional structures that could be the plumbing system. So, and then even take a further step back, you've got other deposits around you. So everything is pointing in the right direction. That's for sure, Barry.
Well, the Golden Rose property has a lot of merit, and we're just really now starting to bring this to the forefront. We've got gold deposits going, potentially into production at Valentine Lake, and which is our neighbor to the northeast. We've got some major gold deposits to our southwest, at Matador's ground on the Cape Ray area, and we're literally sandwiched in between these deposits. So it's not surprising that we're finding good encouragement on our own ground. We expected it. It just obviously takes time, and they've been working for a long time. Valentine Lake was found in the late 80s. Cape Ray was found even before that, quite a few years before that. So they've had a lot of time to find things and drill them off. We're at very much earlier stage, but on the same structures and with the same potential, in my opinion.
Well, and I think we've covered this all, Barry. Maybe you can go off share screen there, and we'll sort of wrap things up. But one of the things I'm always trying to do is evaluate the potential relative to the valuation. And everybody says they have potential, but then it's like a preponderance of the evidence. And the preponderance of the evidence is suggesting that you've got significantly more potential that's currently valued in the company.
Yeah, I would agree with that assessment for sure.
Is that why you're buying the stock, Barry?
Yeah, I've been buying it continuously in I guess periodically all along over the last year, I mean, I've been involved with this project for about a year now. So now that I'm really wrapping my head around kind of around the project and what I think the potential is, I continue to be encouraged, very much so, even more so now that I'm seeing this data out of the Jacobs Pond area. And this area always stood out to me from the very beginning as kind of needing, it's just sort of just been scratched. The surface has just been scratched there, and needs to be opened up more.
But the scratching of the surface suggests, hey, come over here, look down here.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So I've, I haven't sold a single share over the last year. I've just been a buyer, and I'm fully committed to what we're doing here.
Well, I sure like that comment you made a couple moments ago, Barry, where you said that you started out excited, and now as you do more work, you've gained even more confidence. And that's the way these exploration good projects evolve, is the more science you throw at it, the better it gets. And that's sort of the trend you guys have been on.
Yeah, the way I look at it, the more layers of evidence you can stack up, that doesn't tell you throw this one to the side. If then that's kind of increases your confidence level each time you can add another layer. So basically pre-drilling, we've added now several layers that, nothing of which said to us, put this aside because it's now you've seen something that kind of would make you want to doubt it. So everything keeps adding it up. So, adding up. So we're getting more and more encouraged by it as we add another layer of data.
Awesome. And now you brought up the most important question. When might you get the truth machine on there, Barry? Well, I think you touched on a bit of it. One of the truth machines might be opening this up and doing some trenching. Do I have my timing right? You're going to do that and then do some drilling, or what's the schedule?
Well, there's about another several, say 4 or 5 days to finish the IP survey over the Jacobs Pond regional kind of grids or whatever. It's all one continuous sort of area, but we've broken it into different grids. And once that's done, the geophysicist is going to put it all together into a model with stacked sections and 3D model. They're going to pick drill targets for us because they've been pretty successful apparently at picking drill targets on their IP data before. My understanding is they've got a good track record, finding things for companies that they've worked on. This one doesn't sound like, it sounds fairly straightforward, but is
Harry, I think I could pick those targets for you.
yeah, I know what you're saying. But so the next, obviously the next step then would be to, we're going to, as soon as we get our targets picked, we're going to be, within the next week, that's the hope. Yeah, it should be around that time frame. We're going to get an application in for exploration approval for drilling. We'll get that in hand, hopefully by the end of May, thereabouts, or early summer at the very latest. And then plus an application in for approval to trench at the same time. And so we'll be opening these areas up this summer. And then we're still also planning, there's quite a few other very good targets around the property as well. So we're still hoping to have a pipeline and make this project kind of really stand out among all the other juniors that are working. We want to be in the same discussion with the newfound golds and the matadors and the marathons.
Well, those are all $500 million to $1 billion plus valuations, and you're sitting down here at a 10 million, below 10 million valuation. So I really like the sounds of that, Barry. That's what I'm in this business for.
Me too. Been sticking around too long to
mess around.
Yeah, to mess around. So let's get her done.
Awesome, Barry. I'm going to wrap things up, but thanks again, Barry. You're always very good at explaining this stuff, and You know, it's always encouraging when you have a project that keeps giving you good stuff to explain.
Yeah, thanks, Alan. No, you always ask good questions too, because you've got a pretty good knowledge of what to ask from your background, as well. So
Thank you very much, Barry. Let me wrap it up and we'll talk at the end.
sounds good.
All right, folks, there you go. I mean, as I was sort of talking about with Barry, my business, if you will, is to try to evaluate potential relative to valuations. This company has a very minimal valuation, and yet they've already had drilling success. They've on other parts of the property, they have a big property. It's in one of these regional structures that are big cracks in the earth that go down deep. You can be looking for orogenic deposits. You can be looking for VMS deposits. Now they've got this IP in an area where they've had some extremely high grade gold, silver, and copper. And I'm a big bull on copper. So, this, as I said also in the interview, good projects, how they evolve is each time you put more layers of information on top, they keep getting better. And when I first invited this company to be a website sponsor, I kind of broke one of my own rules, which is I generally wait until they've done some more drilling to see what they've got. But these anomalies and these targets, they stood out like a sore thumb to me in more than one area. And that's why I invited them early to be a sponsor. And I'm really glad that they have. I enjoy my conversations with Barry and Joel and the other folks. And I think they're doing really good work. And this one gives you a swing for the fences on more than one location on their property. And so as always, my shows are for information purposes only. It's important for you to speak with your financial advisors before making any investment decisions. And the big thing I'm always about is do your homework. Go to the website, go see their geophysics, go look at all the maps that they generate. And I think you'll understand why I think that this one has a exceptional potential to valuation ratio, if you will. And I invite you to do your homework, and you'll be seeing a lot more of these interviews. I'm quite confident of that with TRU Precious Metals. On that note, have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.